Well, hello and welcome. Another plane video, Cobi. I finally got and completed the F104 Starfighter. 438 pieces. There we go. 438 pieces. A lot of small parts and assemblies, and I will show you the actual. And when I built this, I did something I normally wouldn't do. I would build them in here in my little room that I work in. Excuse me. Weather's starting to change. I built this one on a dining room table so I could see everything and quickly get parts put together because there are a lot of sub assemblies. And here is the finished plane. I love this plane. I had a 21st Century Toys 118 scale. Looked just like it's a Vietnam era plane, and I sold it. I should have kept it. The actual landing gear on that one retracted, but it was a big plane. This one is great. The only thing that I didn't like, they could have did a decal of the Vulcan gun right here. That's where it was at, a little bulge. This plane, let's go through it, was basically the result of the Korean War. The F-86 Sabre was good, but they wanted a fast, really quick, lightweight fighter that could go and take on the coming up Soviet planes. So Kelly Johnson from Lockheed Skunk Works, who designed the World War II P-38 fighter plane and involved the SR-71, came up with this. He went to Korea, talked to all the soldiers and pilots and airmen, like what would you need in a plane? What would work? And it would be this thing here. Now, I have some notes I'm going to have to look at. I'm trying to do this in a detailed fashion. First flight was in 1954, May 1958. Around 58, 57, they started to go into service a little bit earlier than that. It was powered by one General Electric J79 engine with 15,800 pounds of thrust with an afterburner, which could propel this plane to a top speed of Mach 2, 1,320 miles an hour. It was capable of 1,630 miles an hour when the engines were updated. Now, if you look at this plane, they used to call it the missile with a man in it. The wings are trapezoidal. They're not straight, they're not swept, and they're not a delta configuration. Why they use a trapezoid design, I don't know. The wings are very thin. Ground crew could like cut themselves out, so they had like some stuff that they covered it with. It was a combination of stainless steel, aluminum, and titanium to build this plane. It's an extremely fast plane. It's fast as a level plane, and it's got the landing gear that comes off kind of like a corgi style on the plane. It's part of the kit. But it was basically a straight line fighter. It was designed to intercept Soviet bombers at high altitude and shoot them down. Like I said, it was the first plane that had the Vulcan cannon, which the F 15, F 16, and F 22 Raptor have. What other first with this plane? In 1958, it set a world speed record of 1,404.19 miles an hour, and on December 14, 1959, a world record altitude of 103,395 feet. The average ceiling on this is 58,000 feet. Safe flight, safe drive. If you want to see this plane in how it actually was, if you ever seen that movie The Right Stuff, and Chuck Yeager took one of these up 63, 62, and he wanted to see how high he can get it up. And I think he increased that number for height a little bit higher than that. I mean, supposedly he was seeing where the atmosphere and the stratosphere met, and that's when the engines flamed out and the plane crashed, and he almost died in the resulting crash. But this is an incredible plane. Is it a dogfighter? No. If you look at the way it is, it's very long. They called it the missile with the man in it. And a lot of countries, they use this. It was used as a NATO plane. West Germany used it, Italy used it, Denmark used it, Norway used it. Japan very successfully, Canada very successfully. They had a high accident rate because they tried to fly this plane like it wasn't. Instead of using the plane, this goes with anything mechanical. You use it to its strengths, not to exceed the strengths, because if you exceed the strength of the design or what it can do, you'll kill yourself or cause major mayhem. Not in this baby. If you flew it the way you're supposed to fly it, the way the design was, you were fine. It was refuelable, capable. 5 minutes to fill it up, and it had these wingtip tanks that could not be ejected during flight. And the thing with these tanks is it gave kind of stability, I guess. I'm not sure. As far as Vietnam, let's see what I can find here about that. It was used to escort Wild Weasel electronic countermeasure planes and to basically shrug the Vietnamese off from attacking F 105 um, Thunder Chiefs that were doing ground attack. They tried to do some ground attack with this, and these were downed by ground fire. And they're not made for that. They're an interceptor. The old World War II concept of an interceptor: high speed, intercept bombers, whatever, return to base. Could it fight? Yeah, but it would have to use its speed and its armaments to fight. So more of a boom and zoom. Let me take the landing gear off. The landing gear is removable, like a lot of the newer Cobis, and they give you extra pieces so you can make it look like the landing gear is closed. I'll show you that in a second. But this is what it would look like without gear. It's a very sleek, very cool looking, very futuristic plane. And if you used it the way that it was designed to be used by Kelly Johnson initially, it was an awesome plane. It got replaced in Vietnam service by the Phantom. The only problem is this thing could keep up better with the F-105s because it was a faster plane. And it could go up high and ward off any of the planes that the North Vietnamese had. And the thing that this thing could do, it would use boom and zoom energy tactics, which would mean it would be up high, it would see the enemy planes, would go down, get a beat on them, blast them with a Vulcan gun, and off and away it goes. What this plane doesn't show, which my 118 scale had, right here there was a rack. 2 Sidewinder missiles could be placed on it. So it also had some hard points of bombs, and they had one that could actually drop a nuclear bomb, a tactical field nuclear weapon. The whole thing was because of the speed of this plane. They improved it. They had some issues with the engine. I actually, when I was a kid, saw these fly because they were used to air defense fighters by the Air Force, and they were up high. They were very loud, very fast. It was boom. They were fun to watch, and they were able to protect our skies from Soviet bombers because the Soviets knew they came up. This plane will take them down, take them out. It was a limited day fighter. They updated and put more modern equipment and became a day-night fighter, then an all-weather interceptor. The Italians used it successfully like that. In fact, they used theirs to the beginning of the 2000s before they retired them. They loved them. They didn't have any accidents with them. And they're a very neat plane, but they're quirky. You needed a long runway to take off, and sometimes you would have to use a parachute pack, which come out of there to slow it down. These parts of the wings here, were, the back would flop down for lift and to slow it down. On my 21st century toy version, the 118 scale one, you could see that you could move them around. You could see basically the avionics, how this plane was. And if you didn't know what you were doing with this and fly this properly, you would die in it. But I mean, if you understood the plane, all of its strengths, it was an awesome aircraft to use. What else do we see with this? Air superiority and escorting. F-105 Wild Weasels were its main. And these flew in Vietnam, early 60s till 1967, when the F-4 Phantom totally replaced it. They were still used as a high-speed reconnaissance plane for a little bit, and weather. It would go up ahead of the bombers and fighters that were attacking and basically get a beat on what the weather was like. And they would fly through and do their stuff. This also comes with a very nice stand, which you see there. And it does have parts. If you take a few pieces off here, you can close it up. You can make it look good. There's several ways of doing this. You could take this like this, remove that and just, or put it like that where it's in the center. I haven't done that yet, but overall, this is a one heck of an airplane. I mean, it did a lot to save or potentially save us from attack by Soviet nuclear bombers. There's none of their aircraft that would have not been able to be intercepted by these high up, and they would take them down because that's what they were designed to do. Problem wasn't you try to adapt this plane as a tactical fighter, all-purpose fighter. It wasn't made to do that. It wasn't designed for that. And like with the Germany, the Luftwaffe used them, but also the Kriegsmarine, the Navy used them to patrol the Baltic, and they were very successful for that. The Germans figured out how to fly them, how to do well with them, and utilize them well as a aircraft. The problem was when this plane was available, because our Air Force wanted tactical fighters that'll drop bombs, fight, dogfight, and come back, kind of like a World War II kind of a mentality thing in some respects. So there wasn't really a need for this. And then they didn't have to worry about specialized training. So our NATO allies got this plane. Germany got a bunch of these. They liked this plane, but they had a high accident rate. And going back to Germany, their greatest ace of World War II, Erich Hartmann, was also in the Luftwaffe in the when he returned to Germany from Soviet captivity, and he did not like this plane. He liked the Sabre, and he thought this plane, because of how complex it was, would be killing off a lot of the average pilots, and he was right. Until you develop a training regimen and an improved version of the J79 engine. I've seen F4 Phantoms in air shows in Chicago when I was younger. They are extremely loud. The J79 is just a screamer of an engine and thundering and really like totally like wow. And when this thing went supersonic, it could go Mach 2. I mean, it would destroy windows and crack stuff, which was common in the 1960s and the 50s until they started noise ordinances and stuff. And planes came out with newer, better engines like the F-15, F-16, a lot quieter. Smoke coming around than this, much more efficient. But this engine, the J79 that General Electric made, was a potent engine, and a lot of planes used it. It had some trouble parts about it, but it was a powerful power pack. Now, if you want to buy one of these, and it is a very good plane to build. And if you are building these Cobi models, you have to have one of these. This was a quintessential Cold War fighter plane. And I could go into more. I don't want to bore you with over details. And if you want more, I can look up more stuff and give you more details about this. But this is an F104C, I believe. And I don't know what else to say here. They had them in Da Nang in South Vietnam, and they had them in Udon in Thailand. And they would go from there and they would fly over into Vietnam, North Vietnam. Only one of these were shot down. One went over Hainan Island, which is owned by China. It's right off of Vietnam. They had problems with the weather and identification stuff and flew over and got intercepted by two Shenang F6, which are MiG 19 fighter planes. And they shot him down. The pilot stayed there until years later, and he got released by the Chinese. When Nixon started visiting Mao Zedong, they let him go. But yeah, it's the only recorded thing of this one being shot down like that. They were using Taiwanese Straits in the 1950s. It actually was the first plane to shoot down a plane, I think, using a Sidewinder missile. You could put Sidewinders in the wingtips too. Two Sidewinders there, two Sidewinders on the mid rack. So 4 Sidewinder missiles. For doing boom and zoom long range interception with better avionics and radar and stuff, I wouldn't want to go against this plane. It's way too fast. And the thing with this engine, when they kick it, boom, it's gone. You're not going to catch this or intercept this plane. So if you use this plane utilizing its physical strengths and the power of its engine and its electronics, it's an awesome plane. But it was a piece of history and like one of my favorites. I actually saw these, like I said, when I was a small child flying around, part of the defense of the United States back then. And there weren't all these noise ordinances, and you could see them high up, and it was kind of cool. Not anymore because things have changed since then. In the whole basic synopsis of how a war is fought. Now with the inclusion of drones, uses of helicopters, even tanks are becoming kind of passe now. But this is still the heart of everything. You need to have good, decent fighters, air superiority fighters. And in terms of that, controlling the air and keeping your enemies at bay, this was like one of the first. I would put it up with a Mirage 3. I think if I had to study between the two of them, I would rather fly this. So you have to, like I said, watch the movie The Right Stuff. Watch when Chuck Yeager went up to try to set an altitude record with this plane. You see the actual beauty and strength and just what this plane was in a nutshell. One of the neatest things that came out from the United States. I mean, just look at the air intakes that are right there and how they feed into the centrifugal part to feed air to the J-79. This is a feat of engineering made long before computers, using basically drafting tables and wind tunnel tests. And I'm running a little bit late with this, I'm sorry. But that's it in a nutshell. The Lockheed F-104 Starfighter. I'm trying to let you see more of it, and I'm just flopping it like I've been, but hold it like that. I definitely would say if you're going to buy a Cobi model, these are available now. Buy this one and build it. I'd like to get the German one, the Luftwaffe one, or Kriegsmarine. It's a Kriegsmarine one. And they were using that basically to patrol the Baltic Sea. And they had anti-ship missiles, and the Russians basically stayed away because in that kind of a strike plane, kind of a setup, it was very good. So, in a nutshell, a little bit long, and I apologize. The Lockheed F-104C Starfighter. Now, I'm going to have one more Vietnam era that I got to build, and that's this. It's the MiG-17. I believe it's a Russian one supplied to the North Vietnamese. It could be a Polish or a Czech build. I don't know. But that's my next one. And hopefully I'll have it built for the weekend, and then we can go into details of this particular plane. And then I could show you both, just my own kind of crazy stuff for how they would be in an actual combat and why. In a turning type maneuvering battle, a slower MiG-17, excuse me, starting to get cold and rainy here, would basically chew this thing up. But if you use this plane's speed, its ability to move in fast, this plane would tear up the MiG-17. So there you have it, F-104C. And I will have the MiG-17 built, and then we'll start going over stuff with Vietnam equipment, what the North Vietnamese had and what we had. And it should prove to be interesting. So that's it for this. Maybe I could do some other videos with gym wear. I've been going to the gym a lot. My basic thing there is going out, working out, making selfies. And part of the thing of the selfie is using music that I was listening to the day of that workout is kind of a highlight. Basically, I'm just showing off the gym clothes I wear and just kind of trying to say hi to people. But that's it. I will bore you no more with that, any stuff about this, and we will go ahead and get another video going. And I'd like to do more of these videos, and if you find them good, I will try to structure them a little bit differently. You got questions, and feel free to ask. But thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon.